Ghostbusters Afterlife. What a great movie. What a great movie. That was a little clip from my little short but sweet movie review. Look, it is what it is. I hate saying that phrase, but I had to do it like that. But now we're going to talk about the movie. We'll discuss the movie. And spoiler alerts is going to be a part of this discussion. If you have not seen it, I just want you to know that there are spoiler alerts. Before we get to the spoilers, though, we're just going to talk about the movie in general. We're not going to just hit all the spoilers and all the things that you haven't seen. If you have not seen it, I'm not just going to hit the spoilers right away. But I'm just going to take this banner down. See? Bam. We're just going to talk about it. We're going to talk about this movie as a whole. First of all, let's talk about the story. The story is rich. I love what Jason Reitman did. He took portions of part one and mixer of part two, regardless part two is not really shown that much in the elements of part two, besides a few scenes that I recognize, Easter eggs in the movie. He did pretty well. He took the movie and made it his own, regardless of trying to honor his dad's legacy with doing this movie. The movie is fantastic. It's a true Ghostbusters sequel. It has the feel, it has the potency, it has the urgency, it has the lightheartedness, it has the music, it has nostalgia, it has everything that you remember from part one. Let's say this, the originals. It has all of that and then some, and then introducing the children to the next generation of Ghostbusters. You know, the way he did it, the way he broke it down and used the children as the stars versus the OG Ghostbusters wasn't a bad idea. I like the way he did it, but at the same time, it still was a good movie. It was a great movie. I like it. I enjoyed it. I wasn't disappointed at all. Every movie has flaws. See, like I said, when I talk about a movie and I discuss a movie, I never go against the production value or the production team or what the actors and everybody put in the movie to make the movie what the movie's supposed to be. That makes sense. I never go against that. However, though, I do talk about the editor and the editing process. I know it's not always the director and the editor fault of how the movie is perceived in the theaters when it's produced, when it's all post-production, pre-production, post-production. You know, when the movie comes together and they put it out in the theaters and the product you got is what you got because the executives got to be involved. I get that part of the business. But, and there's a but. The but is when an editor or whatever agreement, the director and the editor come together to make the movie, and if they don't take to it or take from it, you get what I'm saying? I butcher that. If they don't take from it, then it's going to be okay. But if they take from the main parts of the movie that takes the understanding and the accuracy out of the movie and the narrative out of the movie, the plot and the flow of the movie, and then that's when I come in critic mode. Get what I'm saying? So I go in critic mode because, you know, that's what all critics do. They criticize the movie. They follow the show points out the flaws of the movie. Me, I consider myself just a movie lover. I don't do entertainment. I just watch the revelations in the movies, and that's, you know, let's just stick on to the discussion. So the movie itself was awesome. So I appreciate what was going on and what you were seeing here. Because bottom line, when you see this movie, see everything from the beginning, from the Ecto 1, from the traps, from the actors, from the children, from the stars. They did a great job selling the movie and selling the characters, especially the young lady that played Egon's granddaughter. She did a phenomenal job doing her acting role. She acted well. She carried the movie on her shoulders. Everyone else had to gravitate to her performance, regardless of how they try to portray her to be, you know, make sure that's Egon's granddaughter. Same scientific mindset, same love for science, same, drive, thrive, and everything. And it came together pretty nicely. And I like podcasts. Podcast was a great addition. Remind me of a young Ray Stance. The brother, he pretty much didn't do too much for me. He was just there. These were the two stars of the movie to me. Everybody else is just there to help them bring the movie to life. But everybody did a good job in their acting roles, if that makes sense. So watching this movie brings a lot of nostalgia, because he kept it, plot points from part one. If you remember, in the jail cell scene in part one with Egon and them discussing the map about what was going on, what was coming, and we're talking about Shindar. And then you watch this movie, spoiler alert, I guess spoilers are already here. When you see this movie, then you'll understand that, wow, pretty much Jason just took that little plot point from that moment and then just made the sequel. To me, I think that every prequel in the franchise, if you don't come with something brand new or something different from the first two installments, then just borrow what made part one and part two of the franchise great and mix them together, bring them together, and just make a better movie and expand on the plot. For instance, not getting off the discussion of Ghostbusters, but I'm just give you an example. The first three Die Hard movies. Okay, part one and two was similar but different locations. One was a building, one was the airport. But then three, instead of just copying one and two, you did something totally different. And now you got to go on a bomb hunt throughout New York City. That makes sense. So even with this prequel, the Ghostbusters Afterlife, the plot, the title itself speaks for itself. And like I said, spoiler alerts is coming. Well, not right now. We gonna get to that point. But spoilers are coming. So right now, what I'm saying is, this movie's great. I love it how they mixed each character together and they brought them together well, especially the new Keymaster and the Gatekeeper with Paul Rudd and the actress that played on Stranger Things. I don't know her name, so I'm not a big fan of Stranger Things. But they all did a great job in this movie. And right now, not to butcher anybody's name, I'm going to just call the names out there people know and recognize just from face recognition only. The movie's all that in a bag of chips. The movie did not disappoint me. One of my second most anticipated movies of this year. I guess you're wondering what's the first one was. If you have watched my previous episodes or editions in the Bottom Line Podcast, you could go back and find out yourself. Go back to the channel, YouTube, Godzilla vs. Kong. That, matter of fact, I just gave it to you. So, but go back and watch that podcast. Have my brothers up there and everything. So, with that said and done, Ghostbusters was very good. If my daughters loved it, regardless of the demonic stuff in the movie, but my daughters love it. We prayed before we went in. So thank God we did that, because a lot of stuff, in that movie that is not really for children. But hey, we prayed. We covered their eyes and their ears, and we told them what to look for and what not to look at and what not to listen to. So we cover our children very well. But in saying that, as fans or supporters of this franchise, it was a very good movie. It was a great movie. I think that, sequels, if you stay at the end, I guess spoilers are here. Stay at the end. There's two cut scenes. There's two cut scenes, post-credit scenes that you might like, that you might enjoy. And, one was Peter Venkman and Sigourney Weaver doing the same thing that part one, who's a machine with the boy and the girl at the beginning, shocking him. She's doing that to him. And then the last post-credit scene, which I think I liked. I like them a lot. It was pretty well conceived, because now it just gives you another plot point of what to do with the franchise. See, let's go back to 2016, the female reboot of the franchise. It wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't a bad movie at all. It just, they played it too safe, and they just focused more on comedy versus the comedy and plot and story, and a real, like, hey, I want to see a sequel, or I'm interested in the franchise again, because they made it interesting. They didn't make it that interesting. Now, they didn't do a bad job. They didn't do a bad job at all. All the females are great, funny comedians, and they did a great job portraying their roles. At the same time, though, it didn't do anything for me for like wanting to watch another sequel to that, a movie to that. Because you say who's so cool. Basically, you're gonna bring Gozer back in the sequel to the female version if they did have one, which I don't think is still off the table. I mean, they could merge the universes and they could still have, they could meet and compete. But still, we'll see. We'll see where the franchise goes. I think now, since you close out the old story of the old franchise, the old G's storyline, now you could go anywhere, any plot, any place with Ghostbusters. Now you don't have to go in New York. You don't have to stay in the country. You could go to countries, different worlds or realms now, if you want to get weird with the franchise and keep it Ghostbusters, because it's dealing with ghosts and demonic realms and activity. You get what I'm saying? So I think they could do so much stuff, so much things, not bring up so many ideas with the sequels going forward. But I like the post-credit scene, this last one with Ernie Hudson's Zedmore, when he talking about his wealth and his finances and how he's kept everybody afloat and kept tabs with the OGs, regardless. They knew they kept tabs. He kept tabs on them. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And he's paying Ray's a mortgage to his business, to his occult business, and he's keeping everything afloat because his business is successful. But the way that you see at the end that he brought, it seems like if you listen early in the movie, they told you who bought the firehouse, the old house, the firehouse that they used in the original movies. It was Winston. Winston bought the firehouse already. He bought it, so he kept it intact. So basically, they think some outsider bought the property, but it was really Winston that did it, but he never told them. I don't know why he didn't tell it. So then he brought Echo One back to New York, and now he's about to do some things with Echo One. But what is he about to do? Is he about to do like a Fast and the Furious type style with the Ghostbusters franchise? Now he's going to finance them, build them up, and do something different with them. Because you saw at the end of that clip, the post credit scene, that the old ghost chamber that was blinking red. That means there's something in there that has not been, whatever, how you dissolve a ghost or destroy a ghost, whatever, it has not gone. So the light is blinking, so you automatically know, okay, they moving forward. So it's pretty powerful, in nostalgia sense that they did that, and they bring back the old schools back to the movie. Now, getting to some discussion. Now, there's a lot of questions in this movie. Who is what's her name? Felipe's mother. Who's the mother of who's Egon's wife? No one's that has not been addressed in the movie. Where is she at? Did she pass away as well? And okay, cool. Then you heard about the fall. When you watch the movie, you'll see the fallout. They'll explain the fallout between the OG Ghostbusters, what Egon did, why Ray's upset, and everybody was upset with him. And you'll hear it. You'll hear it real good when they explain the plot line there, which is kind of like you'll be shocked, like, wow, really, Ray and Egon? But because they had a rift, because Egon took everything just to stop what's coming. He told them, they didn't believe him, but that's like also like kind of mind-boggling. Like, hold on, when they never believe Egon. Egon's like the main guy that tells you something about something's coming. You better believe him because he's an expert on it. So that's what threw me off too. Like they finally didn't believe Egon, and all of a sudden, here we go. And then the last, you saying 30 years, that Egon's forsake everything just to stop this thing from coming, but he still dying in the process at the end. And then he used his granddaughter to finish, what he started. So it was a good movie. This is a discussion. And then the spoilers, you see that, Muncher, the new Slimer. Okay. So Slimer's nowhere in the movie. If you want to see Slimer, he's nowhere in the movie. Okay. Then when you see Echo One is different. Because remember, part two, that's another question. Is part two canon? Is part two canon of the franchise? Because the way this movie went, part two was not mentioned. Vigo was not mentioned. None of this stuff was mentioned with the painting or Vigo, whatever. So that's another thing to look at. But Jason Reitman said that, if I'm saying his name right, Jason said that it is canon. So if it is canon, what happened to Echo One? Did Egon decide to take all the stuff down when he moved to Somerville, Oklahoma, and take it all off and just put it back to the normal Echo One? When you watch it, when you see the Echo is beat down. Echo One is beat down badly. So, just to say that, these questions, you're gonna see flaws. We're gonna see tons of Easter eggs. Even with Shundar, man, that Ivan Shundar, that was Ivo Shundar. You know, when if you go back to part one and hear the plot line of that thing, then you see his body in the cave when they were exploring, and that's only remnants of Ghostbusters 2 that remind me of anything from Ghostbusters 2 when they went down to the cabinet to explore to see the pyramid and everything. I'm looking at this thing like, okay, well, who is that? And then spoiler alert, J.K. Simmons, is playing Ivo Ivo Shindar, and I was like, whoa, cameo alert. It says Josh Gad is in there. I guess he's Muncher. I gotta find out on the credits. I didn't see him at all. Any increments of him at all. So basically, these are spoiler alert territory now. Spoiler alert territory. So let me make sure I put that up there. Spoiler alert if you've not seen it. I'm not gonna spoil too much because this has only been out for 1 week, and this is the second weekend, and it's Thanksgiving or Happy Turkey Day weekend. A lot of people might go out and see it. A lot of people might not go out and see it. So, man, I hope you do good. Be number one again for this weekend because it's the regardless of the content and what it's about, and, on the spiritual side, but as a supporter of the franchise, you might enjoy the nostalgia elements of the movie. It has a lot going with that. I didn't get tired of it. I like the pace. I like how it explains the story. I like how it's not like a fast-paced movie. It's nothing like that. But at the same time, it still was good. It still was good. Still was good. It was a good movie, and I appreciate how they put together. And to me, they passed the torch right. They passed the torch for the new generation. That's how you close out a franchise that's that old, and you want new people to come in and take up the reins and the mantle. Then you pass the torch. Get what I'm saying? Not just, hey, you're the new Ghostbusters. No, you pass the torch slowly but surely, right? You pass the torch, and then the way the post credit scenes ended, the second one, you could do anything with the franchise now. You could bring anybody to be a Ghostbuster now. I think that was the whole idea of the movie. You could be a Ghostbuster. I could be a Ghostbuster. Your mom, your daddy, your granddaddy, your cousins could be Ghostbusters. That's the whole idea of the movie. That's what I got from it. Anyone could be the Ghostbuster. See, the reason why this movie worked for me, because they kept the legacy going, because one of their own, Egon Spengler, he passed, Howard Ramsey that played the actor that portrayed the role of Egon, he passed away in 2014. But now, transition 2014, didn't honor him, because he's not there. It's just those three. But you see the end, you're gonna see, you're gonna have a little treat. It's gonna be nice when you see the end, and then the whole movie is to honor his legacy. That's why it's called Afterlife. You're gonna understand why it's called Afterlife when you see the movie. Phenomenal, guys, phenomenal. So that's how much you'll get from me about this movie. Like I said, from my critic mode, my critic meter, I call it critic mode because I'm in critic mode when I do movie reviews. My critic meter, my 1 out of 10 critic meter, I give this movie an 8 out of 10 stars because it did the right thing. How to pass the torch. It did it right. It's a true sequel with new characters, really nothing new going for the movie because the movie is basically elements of part one just redone. It's elements of part one just redone. You get what I'm saying? Elements of part one just redone. So I appreciate it. I really do appreciate how they close out the old saga, just like Disney, she did Star Wars, and then she did it right. Passing the torch, but they did it wrong. So I'm not going Star Wars. It's about Ghostbusters. So they did right in this movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife, to pass the torch away, keep the legacy, and connect it with the old school G's. But then after that, you don't really have to connect none of it with the old school G's. Old school G's, but the old G's. Ghostbusters, you get what I'm saying? You don't have to connect them no more to the franchise unless they're gonna cameo here and there, or use them as a plot twist, just like they did Howard Ramsey, Egon, and then from the franchise. I don't know. That's what Dan Aykroyd's talking about, the future of what he thinks they should do with their characters and him and Peter Venkman, Bill Murray. So that's wishful thinking. But to me, I enjoyed the movie. It's a true sequel, and I hope you enjoy it. So, bottom line, this movie is a true sequel, Ghostbusters 3. Personally, I think the Ghostbusters video game that came on Xbox 360 was the true sequel. because it was a great game, great plot line, everything, and they did so much stuff to that movie, that video game, because most of the screenplays that they wrote over the years before Howard Ransby died, they put into the game before he all the voice actors and everybody from the movie came back for that game, voiced all their parts in the game. It was great because I got the game. Now I got it on Switch. I got it on Xbox too. I had it on Xbox 360 back in the day too. But in honor of Howard Ransby, it was a great movie. They treated him real well. So it was a great movie. It didn't disappoint. And how they going forward with the franchise, I pray that they do it right. And if Jason gonna do another one, hey, let him do a sequel. But don't bring Vigo. I don't want that. I don't want Ghostbusters 2 plot line. I didn't hate Ghostbusters 2. I love Ghostbusters 2 as well. It's not well received as part 1. That's why everybody is somehow forget part 2 and just don't want me to talk about it. Growing up, me and my brothers and family members, we watched part 1 and part 2 over and over. So we enjoyed both sequels. Part 3, can it measure up to part 1 and 2? Yes, it can. I mean, there's only 4 Ghostbuster movies out there, so I'm gonna put my order of all 4 movies and give you perspective of my order of all 4 movies. Number 4 is the female version. It's not a bad movie, just not Ghostbusters. Number 3 is Ghostbusters 2. Number 2 is Ghostbusters Afterlife. Yes, it's that good. And the number 1, and it stayed number 1, and it will be all forever number 1, the original Ghostbusters. That's my order. Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters Afterlife, Ghostbusters 2, and Ghostbusters Answer the Call. I guess that's the title for the female version. That's my order for all 4 movies going forward. So if the sequels come out and we live to see it, and they come out and they're pretty good and different plot and they go to a different direction, I mean, I'm all for it because you can go anyway. But other than that, guys, I'm not going to spend so much on the movie. It was a good movie. Go see it, have fun, and just enjoy it. All right? Like I said, 8 out of 10 stars on the credit meter. That good. Ghostbusters Afterlife. And theaters, go see it this weekend with your family. All right? Salute. The Bottom Line, weekdays on LDB TV. Presented by LDB Media Corp.